Obviously these projects are all the values there. We've talked about all that. What's the market? Like, what's the revenue generator model of this? Like, how does that come together? I know
So
we talked earlier, like merchant and contract revenue models. Like, what is that?
yeah, so in general, there's kind of two big buckets you could think of ways that batteries can make money. So I referenced a few of them before, things like frequency regulation or arbitrage. But in general, you either have a contract for that revenue, meaning you've signed on the dotted line with, let's say, a utility that says, we want to have the battery on call so that in the summer months, if we had an event where there was a real heat wave, which is something that really stresses the grid. As we know, everyone's got their air conditioning cranked up to the max. Power plants might be failing. The governor might be telling everybody to turn their AC off. So the utility or the ISO wants to have a contract with different providers to say we can call on you in those real critical times to inject some power into the grid, reducing demand, decreasing the likelihood there's going to be a brownout or a blackout in worst case scenario. So those are services that are contracted with the utility or ISO. And in a lot of cases, they may pay you year round, even though most of the time it's going to happen in the summer. But year round, they're paying you to say at any given point in time, we want you to charge up your battery the night before and then discharge usually in those peak hours. And so that's one revenue stream you're getting, which would be a contract revenue stream. You've signed for the life of the project. Most of the projects we work on are 20 or now sometimes 25-year projects. So someone's committed for that whole period to pay you a certain amount of money. Um, on the other hand, there may be services that you can provide, like in Texas, it's an energy-based market. And so you have times when that energy, price can spike way up. Also tends to happen in those peak periods, but you can kind of play that market. That's what we call merchant revenue streams. And those different from contract because nobody's saying, we're going to pay you a certain amount. You're just saying you have to meet some technical requirements to play in the market. But once you're in the market, it's up to you of how you make your money. So you may be saying, okay, for the financial model, everyone's putting together a huge spreadsheet of how the battery will work. Let's say 50% of the revenues that this project is going to make are contracted. There's no doubt that we're going to get paid those because the utility has said we will pay you for them. But another 50% might be we're out there playing these energy markets. And those differ quite a bit from state to state or from region to region. But the central idea is by participating in that market, you have an expectation you're going to be able to make some revenues. Sometimes you have a good month in the summer where there's been a lot of these events and you're able to make a huge amount of your revenue in a short period of time. Other times you may have a bad market conditions where, let's say, you thought you'd be the only battery in that county, but all of a sudden 5 other projects have come on, and so you're chasing the same amount of revenue, and it might be below expectations. But in general, those are the kind of the two ways batteries can make money: either contracted revenue streams or merchant markets.
And you can see a battery project, to your point, play both sides. Like they can allocate X amount of their project to committed contract revenues, and then they can play the markets with the other part of the project.
That's right. One of the beauties of a battery is that I mentioned it can do a lot of different services, like this frequency regulation or arbitrage, or it can even do things like black start, meaning like the ability to start up the grid if the grid has gone out.
Hmm.
And so all these things are different services, and some of those it can do with them at the same time, which is a little counterintuitive to think about. But I think the best way to think about it is a project like what Acacia, Sean's company, is doing, this huge battery project. You might have a certain part of the project is doing this one activity, and another part of the project is doing another activity, and both of those are making money at the same time. One of them might be contract revenues, the other might be merchant, or maybe they're all one or all the other. But one of the nice things about energy storage is you can do what we call revenue stacking. So, like those things are happening simultaneously, meeting those market conditions and making money for the project.